Hello everyone. Welcome to this new episode, Daughters and Dragons, the usual, or maybe if it's your first time, new podcast on do-it-yourself role-playing game, tabletop, like Dungeons and Dragons, but very different, playable by most people of most ages and age groups. So today we're gonna do something a bit different, because otherwise this becomes very formulaic, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you about something that is fresh, that happened today, because otherwise I might just forget about it. And it was interesting. Basically today at work we took one of those 16 personality types tests, the ones that combine 4 different traits. Yeah, seems like I'm speaking about my game, and in fact that's where I'm going, right? Basically I found out that my 4 spirit animals, which was the topic of these days, yeah, of the last couple or 3 episodes, they kind of double up as personality traits, which I had already said, but the point is that, yeah, they kind of fit into this system, into this 16 personality system. Now of course it's not exact, yeah, it's not something that, and it's not by design, it was not the, let's say, purpose of it, but I think the fact that it fits is kind of proof that I'm going in the right direction, because one of my objectives was rooting the systems, the mechanics of the games into reality. So this system is a proven system. It's basically today I thought it was basically the factual version of astrology. Yeah, it's if instead of just telling you you're this zodiac sign because you were born this day, they would tell you the zodiac sign by personality test, well, you would have 12 instead of no, you would have 16 instead of 12, and yeah, and it would look like this basically. So yeah, it's about describing people, which, I mean, of course cannot ever be perfect, but I noticed that nowadays they also put an additional trait at the end of the 4 traits. So actually basically from 16 it's actually 32 types, and I was like, wow, 32 types. That can be a very good approximation. I'm not going there with the game, but I want to tell you what I basically discovered, what are the correspondences, yeah, between one system and the other. And then next time we just take again the subject of the game, like of delving deep into the remaining spirit animal. Although basically, since I will name this 4th spirit animal while talking, I might as well introduce it now, and let's see how it goes. So the first trait is extraversion versus introversion. They all have, by the way, a generic name instead of the name of the 2 extremes, but I don't think I will remember all of them right now. I think this one is called energy, like you can have an introverted energy or an extroverted energy, but yeah, I think pretty much this should be energy, which is not very intuitive, to be honest, but it's okay. For this trait, yeah, actually I'm not gonna associate any animal yet to this trait, because it's really mostly personality dependent, right? I mean, in theory I could just say, okay, the ones that have more social skills would be the most extroverted, but I would be going wrong, because exactly the dragon, the spirit I didn't talk about yet, which is very strange, it's basically a one of a kind, yeah, completely different from all the rest. It has 2 skills, or better yet a trait, and its hybridized version as a skill in this realm, and it's definitely not a social type. Like, even the social ability itself is more of a spiritual one. The dragon is the whole reason why I've called that category before, at least, social and spiritual, because you could really not classify dragon as social. So basically, yeah, extroversion and introversion, it's really just, you know, player's choice, character's choice, and, you know, personality traits that don't have to be tied to the spirit animals. The spirit animals can just make you better or worse at one of these, you know, approaches. I would say it's more of an approach. One can almost choose which one to use, right? I mean, you have a tendency, but then the spirit animal is more about how you approach it. So let's exclude that, and I would say let's exclude the last one, which I definitely don't remember how it's called in its generic version, but it's basically the trait that defines if you're either judging or prospecting. No, sorry. No. I have to think about it a bit more. What was it? Oh, okay, so no, sorry. Feeling is countered by thinking. Yeah, and observant by intuitive. So yeah, judging or prospecting. It's the last one, yeah. And why am I going to exclude this one? Because again, this one falls more into the realm of, I would say, speaking of role-playing games, this is actually more into alignment, even more than just you know, your chosen personality traits. Because I saw quite a good parallel with the lawfulness and chaos axis of alignment. Basically, judging people are obviously on the lawful side, while prospecting, you know, basically trying out different stuff, is basically the almost definition of chaos. So yeah, basically it's kind of outside of the scope of what the spirit animals do. Now, my first intuition when I was listening to the presentation by a colleague of ours that is into these things, maybe more than me, maybe not, was that these two traits, or couples of traits, were also left out from a lot of the talk. Like, most of the talk was about dealing and, you know, recognizing your strengths and weakness in the middle traits, which are, as I briefly recollected before, the trait that defines if you're either intuitive or thinking. So basically very rational or more irrational and emotion centered. And the approach, I think, or tactic, I don't remember how it's called, between observant, which strangely I think is S. Yeah, it's S in the personality system, versus observant and, oh shoot, no, I think observant versus intuitive. Yeah, so sorry, before it was thinking and feeling, non-thinking and intuitive. Did I say it wrong? Okay, so observant or intuitive, so basically basing yourself on facts or on theory, and I would say even better on material things or immaterial things, versus, I mean, this is one versus, and then the other versus is feelings versus rational thought. Yeah, so when you couple these ones, you get actually only 4 personality types, which are very broad perhaps, and very, very close to the 4 spirit animals. Like, when it comes to couples of traits, the spirit animals do an excellent job. So I'll tell you how I see them. So let's go by couples. The sensing ones, I prefer to call them sensing instead of observant, because it starts with S, the trait. So the sensing one, the material, the ones that just look at reality, would be lion and ego. In fact, I kind of grouped them together in the table, thinking that calling them the most pragmatical. That's what it is, yeah? While the theoretical people, the ones that instead of the observation, they use intuition, are unicorn and dragon, yeah? The bottom elements, the deep side, the mystical side. Perfect, really perfect. But you know, I wouldn't just associate one to each, as you said, as you saw, it's two to each. So they get defined when you group them with the rest. That is, thinking and feeling. Who's thinking? Who's feeling? Here, the couples mix up. So in thinking, the rational machines of the four animals are the eagle and dragon, while the feeling ones are the lion and unicorn. It almost computes itself by itself in everyone's mind, because we, as I said, we have the archetypes of these animals in our minds. We know that, I mean, the unicorn is kind of recent, yeah, and kind of artificial based on pop culture and a ton of other things. It's clearly, you know, this representation of, I would almost call it, I mean, I don't want to go deep into these topics, but I would almost call it a feminized masculinity, because the horse, you know, is usually a masculine, you know, symbol, but the unicorn, and especially the typical, you know, rainbow colors associated to the unicorn and the magic and the, you know, the charm associated to it, is kind of, you know, like the feminization of the masculine. So it's nice. It's nice, honestly. It's an archetype. Basically, we could call it an archetype of you know, duality, of dual nature. So that's exactly how I pictured it, without even doing this kind of reasoning between masculine and feminine. But that's exactly how I pictured it. You know, it's an ambivalent. In fact, it's the one of adaptability. If you remember, the instinct variant or aspect they have is the one of adaptability. And also insight is a very receptive, you know, like they know instinctively a lot of stuff. And in fact, unicorn, if you follow the two, becomes the NF type, which by the way is me. Yeah, I'm a unicorn here. So, you know, even if, you know, I'm as one person once said, so straight that it's not even funny, I do recognize that I have a big prominent feminine side in my brain, you know, possibly a heritage of my long talks with my mother, which, you know, basically attuned me to a feminine way of a feminine approach to things, yeah. So there was even a question during this meeting, during this you know, brief presentation, a guy who was the opposite type, I swear, he was ST, typical programmer, yeah, typical software developer, was like, but how do we know who we're talking to? Like, it's not like we can ask them a personality test. And I found it very funny, because that's exactly what an ST person would say. They need the facts, S, and they need to reason on them to find a conclusion, T, thinking, yeah, sense and think. And I couldn't help myself, and I replied, look, I think usually the ones that understand the personality types in front of them are the NF types, yeah, like me. If you're ST, you're the opposite. So for you, basically, you need the data to reason on it, and that's why for you it might take more time and effort to understand who exactly are you talking to, who exactly are you dealing with. You know, that's a problem that many such rational people have. They just you know, they cannot make hypotheses, theories on, you know, or just guesswork. Yeah, they call it guesswork, and in fact a lot of it is guesswork on who they're talking to, who they're dealing with. especially if they are people. If they are machines, okay, you know, they can make assumptions, but because they know stuff, you know, they use their knowledge. With people, you cannot. You might just, you know, do some thinking if you also have a bit of the intuitive. And in fact, here we come to intuitive thinking. Intuitive thinking, if like according to this combo that I did, is dragon. Now the dragon is quite different, yeah, quite unique, as I was saying, because it is mystical, but it's also very rational. And incredibly, this is the spirit that I tie the most to spirituality in the religious sense. Like there is even a trait, an aspect of a trait, better, that I might end up calling either faith or belief. Yeah, and you will say, and where's the rationality in that? Well, if you think about it, if you combine it with intuition, basically that means making up a theology, a system of thought that doesn't have anything to do with what you sense, but only with what your intuition tells you. So it's reasoning on the intuition. By the way, I'm very close to thinking when it comes to my personality. I'm actually very split in the middle. So you might say that on this trait I'm in between unicorn and dragon, yeah? And yeah, I will not say much more about them. They have perhaps not the same ease to understand how people are, but still, you know, the intuition helps a lot. They miss a bit the feeling side, yeah, the empathy basically. So who's got the empathy but doesn't have the intuition? It's the lion. The lion is funny because, so what does it mean? You don't have the intuition, but you have the empathy. That's why they are incredible leaders, because they connect with people. But you know, the fact that they are sensing means that what they are interested in is people in the present. They don't care, you know, about the background, about, you know, what could be your personality type. They just see you how you are and make you do stuff. It's incredible. And you know, this sensing is also basically could also be nearly a synonym of practical. Yeah, basically they have the feelings at the center of their view, but in a practical way. Like, okay, I'm angry, what do we do about it? You know, it's very like this, direct. And you know, awesome people to be with, to be honest. And shout out to my mom, who inspired the whole spirit animal, just this time, yes, thanks to astrology. She's of the sign of the lion, and you know, the sign of the lion has always been associated with the archetype of the lion. So the only inaccurate thing is that they tie it to a period of the year instead of actual personality types, which my mother surely meets, although she might also be on the unicorn side, you know, because that's the beauty of this system, that you can have all the traits. It's just about how much of each you have that then gives you a result. So finally, the last type I didn't mention is the coldest, and in fact you will see it associated very soon to so-called winter magic, eagle. Sensing, thinking. So it's like what you see is not what you get, it's what you can make something of. The thinking, you know, makes them process things. That's the unraveling that they have. Plus, you know, manipulate on the social aspect. What else? Everything is about it, you know. The sensing is even basically it's really, you know, the eagle, the eye, the sense. It's the observant creature by definition, yeah? The sight of an eagle or of a hawk. It can be a hawk, you know, easily. Yeah, it's basically self-explanatory, right? They encase so well in these couplings of traits that it's astonishing, really. It's incredible. And I have done today, I did a bit of present perfect versus simple past, so maybe I will be better at this. Today I've done something also of a let's say translation, or even by percentiles. So at some point I will write a blog post where you can find from your personality type exactly not only which spirit animals, but which die you would have on each spirit animal. You can build an algorithm out of this thing. It's amazing. It's quantitative other than qualitative. Although, of course, as I said, extroverted, introverted, yeah, we can approximate it, but it will never have the same meaning as, you know, yeah, it's a bit forced, yeah? And same with the last trait, the one that gives you a variant of the whole personality, which is assertive versus turbulent. That's really your temperament, you know? It's not something that these spirit animals should decide, but I still did it, you know. I still anyway thought, for example, that quite obviously the feeling masters are turbulent because they feel more. So lion and unicorn are turbulent, and eagle and dragon are assertive. It's actually quite fitting as well. It just doesn't have the same amount of it doesn't map so well to the meaning, yeah. It's a bit more of a correlation instead of causation. Okay, I talked enough. That's a big video. Thanks if you listen. I hope that, you know, these alternative kind of talks are still pleasant, and next time we talk in detail about the dragon and possibly something else. Cheers.